Hello everyone and welcome to my channel. My name is Sofia and in today's video it's going to be a little bit of an experiment because usually I don't talk as much, but I wanted to share my thoughts that go into creating 3D projects. Before we continue, I would like to thank today's sponsor, wingfox.com. Wingfox is an educational website that contains tons of useful information about 3D modeling and more. They have a lot of different types of courses for any skill level, so I'm sure you'll be able to find something that suits you. I want to recommend you this amazing course about creating and rendering a stylized character by Wahid Ahmadi. I'm pretty sure you've seen his artworks on ArtStation before. You can get 50% off at the checkout using my affiliate link and a coupon code in the description down below. And now to the video. For this project, I'm starting with the head plane that you can find once you open your Zbrush. There's one for female and male. This speeds things up a little bit because you can probably remember that in the previous time lapses I was just sculpting from a sphere, but honestly, I'm a little bit tired of this method and this is just a bit faster. So before working on a character, it's probably obvious, but the most important thing is to look at a lot of references. If it's a game character, it can be a bit easier compared to when you're working on an original concept or some amazing concept that you found of another artist on ArtStation or Twitter or somewhere else. Even then, when you're working on an original concept and trying to replicate it in 3D, you can look at different pieces of concept, for example armor, and find as many different references as you can. Put them all in PureRef and keep it all next to your work at all times. If you don't already know and use PureRef, you so should. It's a free software where you can put a lot of images together and keep them in place. Another important prep step before actually starting on your artwork, you want to look at a lot of different artists and how they make their art. You may want to look at some time lapses, rendered images, real-time models, and so on. Anything that can help you. I like to look at topology and try to replicate that in my work. I've especially was looking at a lot of Overwatch models when I was creating one of my pieces, Sir Lancelot, in the past, if you can remember. And I'm really proud of that piece still to this day because I've optimized it quite well, and if I remember correctly, it was just like around 30k triangles for the whole model, so you know, that's pretty optimized. Yeah, I was looking at a lot of Overwatch models and how they optimize their models and where they place triangles and stuff like that, and it really helped me. Topology can be really tricky, especially when you try to optimize it for video games or just any low poly model in general. Probably many of you don't know anything about me, but I have a background in traditional arts, and when I say background, it's just really an art school that I used to go to alongside my regular school, and we had different art narratives, so I tried a bunch of different techniques and styles, and just like, you know, materials to work with, from painting and sketching to traditional sculpting, which I totally hate, to be honest. I don't like to get my hands dirty because it gets all under the nails and it's really hard to like sculpt with clay or anything, and on computer you don't need to bend anything with your fingers and they don't hurt. I mean, you get other problems, but you probably know what I mean. But one of many very interesting things that my art history teacher told me, that if you want to communicate with the artist, you need to try to copy their artwork as a study exercise. This is especially helpful when studying the works of artists that aren't present anymore, but you still want to learn from them. Maybe you want to learn how to paint like Rembrandt or Da Vinci or someone else. This applies to any art field. It's a great exercise for anyone who wants to be able to communicate with the art that you're looking up to. You can just print out the artwork, or if you're working digitally, just have it side by side on your computer with your work and your reference. It doesn't really matter if you're working in 3D or 2D, all of these little tricks and rules can be applied at any art field. So, moving on from references, and one thing that I like to do to put myself into a working mood, especially with smaller projects like these, when the process is more of a determination and focus rather than a big portfolio piece where you can split your time in between and stuff like that, it can be really hard to make yourself work every week on a project. This works really well if you're working on a character from a game. Turn on the music for that specific character that you're working on and have it on repeat, or simply find an hour version of that music. By character music, I mean like a theme of that character from a video game or an anime or any like TV show. If that doesn't apply to your case, you can put any ambient music that will help you to get into the right mood and stay focused. This is not sponsored, by the way, but I love YouTube channel called Ambient Worlds. They have very long theme music from different fantasy worlds. My favorite one's gonna be Winter in Skyrim and also Harry Potter ones, because I'm a big fan of both. I will leave a link down below for you guys to check out. Some other great stuff is synthwave and lo-fi. I can also share my favorite tracks with you if you're interested. This little tip can help you to get into the right mood of fantasy universe and that you can imagine that you're part of that world while you're creating your artworks. For me personally, I have a very deep connection with my artwork when I do this. It helps me to communicate the ideas I have in my head with the outer world. Another thing that I should mention would be probably if you want to practice, I would suggest you do as many smaller projects like these. Try setting a time limit for yourself and speed sculpt. Start by practicing anatomy sculpts or even head with planes. If you do this every day, you'll see how much you improve even in just a week. I know, this is boring and you probably want to sculpt badass characters, but you can't achieve very good results without the knowledge of anatomy. I started with the same thing myself, and not gonna lie, it was very hard and frustrating, but I got a lot better and learned tons the more I did it. You can also start with the skull, then build muscles and try to make someone's face. Also, if you're just starting, I would suggest starting with realistic sculpts before moving to stylized ones. Even though stylized art is simplified, but that is exactly why it's much harder to understand the anatomy under all that clay. And also, I have to mention that it's okay when you just start your project and you've like worked for an hour or maybe two or maybe even more and your artwork just looks like shit. You know, it happens to the best of us. It's just how 3D works. It takes a lot of time to really make a shape that you're satisfied, kind of, but don't be discouraged by that. Just continue working on what you're doing and practice every day. On the other hand, if you had enough practice and want to work fast, I would suggest making a very good base mesh and reuse that every time to speed things up. You will have good topology to work with and it will be easy to make adjustments and sculpt details on top. I have some base meshes I've made in the past on my Zbrush. I'll leave a link down below for you guys as well if you want to check that out. If you want to create your own, it's totally fine, you know. As you can see, I usually reuse eyelashes because I really don't like making those over and over again. But if you want to learn, then I would suggest you do as many little sculpting sessions as you can. Don't strain yourself too much doing a lot of hours in a day. Rather do fewer hours but work every day instead, because as we all know, practice makes perfect. I would say a good amount of like practice is probably 3 hours a day for your speed sculpts. Maybe after work or school or uni or, you know, anything. Just after you had some nice dinner and you have free time, just have 3 hours of sculpting, and then, you know, by the end of the week, compare your first sculpt to the last sculpt, and you will see that there will be, like, you'll learn a lot and there will be a difference. After you feel comfortable with sculpting in any software, you can start experimenting with different styles. As you can see with this one, it's a bit more different than what I usually do. It's kind of a Disney-ish style with bigger and rounded features and a soft, smaller nose that is kind of pushed in the middle, like, you know, most Disney female characters have, because I thought this would suit Gwen's character way more. Not all the things are gonna work the same way for every character. You know me, I love those edgy looking girls like Evelyn, but I can't make all of my characters looking the same. It would get really boring and repetitive. Therefore, I'm trying a different thing here with Gwen. Let me know in the comments what do you think of this art style and the video in general. I am a little bit nervous talking so much, not gonna lie. Even though I wrote a script for this, I still feel like I sound really robotic, if you know what I mean. But anyway, I hope this video was somehow helpful or entertaining to watch. Please give this video a thumbs up, comment if you have any suggestions to improve my videos, or you can suggest any other characters you want me to make. And please subscribe if you find my channel useful, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye bye.